Hello again, welcome to another episode of Outside the Echo Chamber. I am Rick Lord, and today we are on location in the heart of Charleston talking about a project that will bring a lot to Charleston in many, many ways. And joining me right off the top is Mayor Amy Goodwin. First of all, Mrs. Mayor, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about what you see right behind us right here, what used to be the Macy's location at the Town Center Mall, soon to be, hopefully, a multi-use sports facility that I'm sure you have a lot of hopes for this city, and you were instrumental in getting this not only to the table, but also in every step of the way that we've come so far with some challenges that still lie ahead.
Sure.
Quickly, just talk a little bit about what this is and what it will do for the city in your words.
Sure. Well, many, many years ago, I was having a great phone conversation with a guy named Ben Salango, who just got to be a county commissioner.
Maybe we should talk to him in about 15 minutes.
And so, and this is a true story. We were talking many, many years ago about sports tourism and the development of sports tourism. I was the tourism commissioner at the time. And we were talking about the growth of the sports tourism industry. I'll give you a quick snapshot, most recent snapshot. In 2019, the sports tourism industry was a $15 billion industry. Today, it's 40 billion plus. That's a B, billion plus.
We're talking about things like travel teams.
Yeah.
I mean, any parent that has a kid that plays sports,
if
you know.
you're watching, you're listening, you know this. I'm a hockey mom. Ben was a soccer parent, and what he was saying is, how do we create that here? You know, that was the development of Shawnee that he did such an amazing job with. Well, taking a page from that success, you know, here in the city of Charleston, I literally just left a press conference where we were talking about we have become, over the past couple of years, and really post-pandemic, the entertainment and sports destination here in West Virginia. We just hosted for the past 2 days USA Cycling. We're going to have the best cyclers, the folks who are going to compete in Paris are going to be here in Charleston, West Virginia for 5 years, racing on our roads. We hosted an international USA volleyball, USA table tennis, 200 table tennis athletes from 27 different countries. Charleston's on the map now. And so from that conversation that Ben and I had many years ago and most recent years ago is, what's the piece we're missing? And so we contracted with the CVB. They got a group to come in and do a study to say, what do we need? What's the big hole that we're missing here? And it's a Capitol Sports Complex, a complex that we can host massive basketball, volleyball, pickleball facility to not only have a world-class facility for our local athletes, because by the way, that's important too, to make sure that our local kids have the facilities that other kids have the opportunity to practice in all across the country, but also bring people here. It's more than just, by the way, heads and beds. When people say heads and beds, I always stop and say, it's actually a little bit more than heads and beds. But we have proven that we can do it, that we have a good model, and that building this is, by the way, building is the easiest part, just like the Coliseum and Convention Center, Rick, behind your back. Yeah. It's easy to build something, it's much more difficult to fill it. And oh, by the way, this isn't just because Amy and Ben think we want a facility. We did a study to ensure that should we build something like this, and then most important, how do we fill it? And operationally, what are the things that we need to do to make sure that it's a success? Because, you know, building it, that's spending money. We're not here to spend money, we're here to invest. And what's the ROI we can get back?
You brought up a lot there, so I'll try to unpack this a little at a time. First of all, you mentioned Ben Salango and the Shawnee Fields.
That's right.
Was that sort of an advantage in providing you a blueprint for what this could be and what it means and what it does?
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, they didn't even open up the facility yet, and they were already booking national tournaments. But we're seeing it with what we're booking now. And so there's always always good exercise in looking at what other people are doing, and can we make it work here? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And what the report also said to us was, not only are you missing $40 billion, you're missing your piece of that pie of $40 billion, by golly, you better do it soon. You better do it quickly, so we don't miss the bus.
Now, you talked about ROI. I know that you've said in the past that you prefer to have a return of investment on sports tourism in like an 8-to-1 ratio. Is that something that's feasible with this type of operation?
Oh, there's absolutely no question about it. Yeah, there's absolutely no question about it. It's again, it goes back to what are the things that we know, and looking at the area in which there are other facilities and the draw that we can get from other states around us. Listen, we went to other facilities. Ben and I both have been traveling all over looking at what other facilities have, looking at where they're located, because that also is extremely important. And again, playing off the experience of every single parent I know, including myself. I can't tell you, Rick, how many times that Booth Goodwin and I have been in a Dayton, Ohio hotel for 3 days,
Sure.
spending much more than I'd like to admit, because sports tourism, and this is a point worth accentuating. Sports tourism, even through a pandemic, even through inflationary times, it's going up.
Yeah.
It's not stopping. And so we want to get on that as fast as we possibly can.
What is your vision for what it might do to the huge chunk of important property that lies right behind that? I'm talking, of course, about the town center mall.
Sure.
We've seen it
Significantly.
We've
that's
seen what's happened to
yeah.
that mall over the last 20 years. Do you think that this could provide a shot in the arm for it, or at least start pivoting to make it more to what the mall used to be? I know, listen.
It almost sounds like a trick question.
Right, because let's just be honest here. I mean, malls, this isn't exclusive to Charleston.
No.
Malls everywhere are going through the same thing.
20 to 30% of all malls across the country are going to be gone
So
in the next decade, period. And that's just a fact. And the malls that we used to, and it's not because of the location, it's because of the way that we shop.
online.
Every single person who's viewing this knows that we shop different than
Sure.
we did back in the late 70s and early 80s. It was the center point. And that's okay, by the way.
Yeah.
It's okay to change, but we can't get stuck into the thinking of we want the mall to be what it used to be. No, we
Can't be.
don't. I also don't want cars manufactured the way that they were back then as well. Better. More efficient, more effective, and this is the heart of the city. We've got to make sure that what we're putting in here really thrives. I'll tell you this, what I know it will do, without question, is absolutely help this part of the city. We've proven it with the Coliseum and Convention Center.
Think of all the acts that are getting sold out now, right over there.
We're turning people away.
Yeah.
We're turning people away because we can't have a big act and a big tournament at the same time. And so this type of growth is monumental. Just a hop, skip, and a jump down the road, City Center at Slack Plaza. It was a $3.5 million park, and people said, why are you spending that much money on a downtown park? It's about revitalization. It was also about programming, making more things happen. Our return on investment is already over $12 million.
Wow.
If I gave you $3.5 million and you gave me 12 in return, we'd play that game. I'd
Every
play
day.
that game all day
Yeah, I don't
long.
know. Yeah.
So yes, it will help the mall, but also we have a new hotel that's being built right beyond it. We have a new business that's getting ready to construct beyond that. So this entire area that we're seeing right here is going to see a total renovation.
Do you see, have there been any talks about ways to repurpose that mall and to evolve with what's happening? You mentioned traveling, and specifically to Ohio. I don't know if you've been to Cleveland. I'm sure you have.
They have a lot of hockey rinks in
Yes,
Cleveland.
the arcade there in the heart of downtown Cleveland used to be an indoor retail mall, and they kind of repurposed that into a hotel that also, by the way, does still have some retail.
Sure.
Have there been talks about maybe moving the mall into something that might still offer some of the old flair of the retail business, but also use that space more efficiently?
So Longwoods International, which is the world's leading travel and tourism research firm in the world, right? The #1 travel motivator for anybody. By the way, I know who makes the travel decisions in your house, right? Who makes them?
Well, it's not me.
It's not you, right?
No.
So it's normally
and my
the
wife
moms.
might say it's not her either.
Well,
We're talking about three little ones that
that's an important
are
part.
driving
And
it.
here's why that's an important part that you say that. That's every family.
Yeah.
The #1 travel motivator indicator is lots of things to see and do.
Experiences.
So we're not talking about just building a Capitol Sports Complex. Brothers, sisters coming, mom's coming, dad's coming. How are we going to make sure there are lots of things to see and do for all of them? That's how we get people here, maybe for one night, but when there's lots of things to see and do, I got a second night.
Now let's get down to brass tacks, because obviously with something like this, it's an $80 million investment, and then you're talking about maintenance. It takes money to make something like this happen. What I found interesting is at the genesis of this all, and this has been going on for about 15, 16 months now, you basically formed a partnership with the county, and we'll talk to Ben a little bit about that
It's
as
the
well.
first time it's ever happened.
Yeah, and every step of the way you've brought that to play in terms of just being able to bounce ideas off of each other and use the power of both entities. But to bring in money, has there been talks about maybe some private donors, some federal money? I know both Senators Capito and Manchin have been on board with something like this.
Yeah.
How do you raise the money that's needed, not just to build it, but also to maintain it?
Yeah, sure. Already we've seen that federal support and investment already from the federal government, so we appreciate that so very much. The county commission put in already $5 million. The city of Charleston's already put in $5 million. It's a variety of different money sources. It's city, it's county, it's state, it's federal, it's private. I think what you're going to see out of this, by the way, as most projects do, have a variety of different funding sources. But I'll say this, what's most important about this conversation, this has never happened before, but it should happen more often, that the city and the county are working together on this type of economic development. By golly, that should be happening all the time. This shouldn't have been the first time. We should have been doing that long ago, and we certainly need to be doing it as we move forward.
And a lot of times people say, well, you know, you bring in retail and people come, it's really backwards, right? If you bring in people, then retail follows. So if you can offer something that brings in people, and people see what the downtown is now and what's happening everywhere. I mean, across the river in Elk City. And then that's when retail comes in, because then they go, okay, now we have an audience, now we have customers.
Again, I go back to its investment. I'll give you a little twist on this, right? So USA Cycling, 5-year contract, have the best cyclers in the world come to the city of Charleston for 5 years in the month of May. When we got it, we got the award. They said to us, your roads are awesome. And we said, whoa, okay, are there tweaks? We need to repave a road or repatch? No, they're incredible. Well, let me tell you why. Years ago, we said, you know what, our roads are in bad shape. We need to double the paving budget every single year to get caught up. That's why we got this contract, is because we invested in infrastructure, critical infrastructure, and someone said, oh, this is great. These are the best roads that we have raced on. By the way, they race in big, big cities all across the country. So again, it's about investing in the right opportunities at the right time, and there's always, the best time is to invest in critical infrastructure like roads, and especially facilities that will give you a return on investment. That's what municipal government, county government really should be about. Sometimes we get so myopic and we get in our own lanes.
Vision,
yeah, this is a project where that's not happening, and it's refreshing.
Anyone walking down the street, they'll look over there and be like, that still looks like an empty Macy's building.
Well,
we've been talking about this for more than a year now.
Yeah.
So
big projects take time.
Where do we stand? What are the challenges that you still face? Sure. And what kind of a timeline are we looking at here?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll say this, and as all business folks know, it's really about location too. This is an exceptional location. Right. And so making sure that securing this building, that's obviously next up on the list. And then when this building goes down and the investment starts to come in, if if Ben Salango was sitting here right now instead of me, he'd say, I wanted it done yesterday.
We can make that happen.
So, but it takes time to, again, everybody wants it to happen tomorrow, so do I. But how we're designing it, and what's going to be in the building as to give us the best ROI is going to take a little bit of time. But working on this building of what goes inside the building, and then the financial plan that goes with that, those are the next steps, immediate steps at least.
You're a parent. You've done that before. You're a parent to a city now, really, as the mayor.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're talking to everybody. What's the feedback been like on this so far?
Yeah, great. Except for my 19-year-old who wants a ice rink. But I bring that
There's
up.
One
though,
up in South Charleston.
And he's got to be funny about it. He does want an ice rink downtown. Wouldn't that be great? But actually, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make financial sense for us to have an ice rink there.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to give you credit for this, because you've said in the past, great ideas are great ideas. I love great ideas. Bring them to me, but a great idea also has to be a great investment. So we have to make sure that what we're doing is smart.
That's right. I'd love to have a hockey rink. I'd love to have 4 hockey rinks. That's not going to fly. What are the things that we're going to put in this building that give us the largest return on investment? We promise folks, and we're promising folks, we're going to spend money wisely on this project. And so those are the things that we're going to be focusing on now. Not what we want, but what will work in those smart investments.
Mayor Amy Goodwin, thank you so much
Thank
for your time.
you.
You've mentioned Ben Salango numerous times, so that's provided me a perfect segue because coming up in just a moment, we will have the Kanawha County Commissioner on to talk about that side of things and where we stand with. He can dive into more of the legal issues because he's got that
He's a
attorney
good
mind.
attorney.
We'll be right back after this.
Make sure you are informed with HD Media. We are leading the state in local, digital, and print media. We are storytellers. We focus on education, health, entertainment, politics, opinions, sports, and the outdoors through our websites, print, or social and mobile apps. We work every day to enhance the lives of our customers by informing, entertaining, and empowering our readers in the communities we serve. We are HD Media.
Welcome back to Outside the Echo Chamber. Now joining me is Kanawha County Commissioner Ben Salango. We talked a little bit, I know that you were sitting over there listening to what Mayor Goodwin was talking about, and what struck me when I first started looking at this plan was that partnership that you guys have struck between the county and the city. What was the beginning of that? What were the talks like, and how did that come to fruition? Because it's really a novel concept, what you guys are doing.
Well, you know, it actually, as the mayor mentioned, it started many, many years ago. She and I were talking, and Jennifer, she was at that time the Commissioner of Tourism for West Virginia. I wasn't even on the county commission yet, but I was traveling all over the country with my youngest son playing soccer. And we would go places and we'd have to stay 30, 45 minutes away from the venue, and everything in between was packed. You know, all the hotels were sold out, all the restaurants were full. And so I mentioned that to her, and she said, it's called sports tourism. I had never heard of it before. So fast forward to 2017, when I became a county commissioner, and I wondered if there had ever been a study about sports tourism in Kanawha County, and there had been. I mean, there'd been one 20 years before and one about 5 years before. So I took that plan, the most recent plan, and kind of ran with it for the Shawnee Sports Complex. We've proven that it works. You know, in Shawnee cost, it was around $20 million to build, a little under 20. We've already generated over $100 million.
So it's exceeded your expectations.
Completely exceeded my expectations. And, you know, that includes the COVID years when we were shut down for a significant period of time. So, you know, our return on investment with Shawnee has been tremendous. That all goes in the community. That goes to, you know, your local businesses. It goes to the hotels. It goes to the restaurants, the employees that are working there, you know, the waitresses and waiters that are there working. So it's an important part of redeveloping not just the county, but the city,
and what are
bringing those people in.
What are some of the advantages of this type of partnership?
Well, first of all, it's the largest partnership ever between the city and the county. I mean, you go back to when the city and the county started. You know, there's never been a partnership like this. And I think it really just comes down to us being able to focus on this singular project and also split cost. The county couldn't do this by itself. I don't think the city could do it by itself. So it was important that we come together and work this out and make sure that we get it done. And that's what we're doing.
Now, having the unique ability to draw on your experiences through the Shawnee facility, have people been coming to you, bouncing ideas off of you, or asking you for advice, or saying, okay, what are we missing here? What needs to happen? You've gone through it. Help us out with this.
Yeah, you know, Shawnee's different. Shawnee, the land was owned by the county, so we didn't have land acquisition. We didn't have some of those issues. It's not under a roof, you know, so it's more difficult. It's more expensive when you're dealing with something like this. Shawnee's 130 acres. It's a very large complex, but this is under roof, and it's got a lot of different sports, and land acquisition has been probably the biggest challenge, but I think we've worked that out.
Now, you're an attorney, and by the way, full disclosure here, Ben does advertise with HD Media, but there's no conflict of interest here or anything. That's not why you're here today. It has nothing to do with that. But you might see a Ben Salango ad if you're watching this. I just want to get that out of the way. That's just coincidental. But I know that you guys retained attorneys. There were some roadblocks about with Cura and the Charleston Building Commission, specifically about who has ownership of the garages and what that's looking like. If you could walk us through what the problems were, what the holdup was, and where we stand now with that.
You know, when you're talking about a public entity, the city and the county, and dealing with, compare that to a private entity. As a private entity, I could go in and do whatever I want, and I wouldn't have to make it public. But when you're dealing with the city and the county, everything we do has to be public. Right. Everything has to be, you know, voted on in a public meeting. We've got to make sure that there's notice. And so when that happens, some people try to take advantage of it, quite frankly. And I think that initially there was probably a sense that maybe they could get a little more.
So you're saying we can sell this for more than it's worth? I mean,
I think that's just it's just human nature. But I think we worked through those issues. I think we're good now. You know, there's been a joint filing in court related to the parking garages. I think that'll take care of itself. And then, of course, the Macy's building is owned by Cura,
Right.
which, you know, is the city. So I think we'll be able to move forward rather quickly now. And we've made significant progress. It took a while. It took a while.
So confident that this is the property? Because I know
Oh.
there was some talk of, oh, well, if you guys aren't going to play ball, we'll go to where Caskey was. I mean, that's
Yeah, and you know, there were other locations we looked at, but there are no other locations that are like
this.
This is the perfect location for a lot of different reasons, you know, some of which the mayor talked on, but I think it needs to be here, and I think we'll see some significant movement over the next, say, 90 days. I think you're going to see a lot happening.
So all of the things that were thrown out there, like eminent domain, maybe condemnation of the garages, that's not an issue anymore?
I don't think any of that's going to have to happen, thankfully. I think
Okay.
it's, you know, I think it's going to work itself out.
What kind of timeline are we looking at? I know we talked to the mayor and she was very adamant, hey, these things take time, and that's certainly fair, but is there any window that we can put on this?
If I had a sledgehammer and a permit, I'd get it on. I'd get on it today.
Yeah.
But, you know, one of the things that we're going to have to do is we need to work out the final details of the Macy's building, and then we're going to have to probably do some type of study to make sure that there are no issues with demoing the Macy's building. But right now, what we've done, we've each contributed $5 million. The city and the county put $5 million. That way we can take care of the architectural, we can take care of the demolition, we can do what we need to do to move forward. I would imagine you're going to see a lot happening in the next 60 to 90 days.
What's your vision for this? I mean, like I said, you've gone through it in a different realm with the Shawnee Sports Complex. What do you envision this becoming, and what it might mean for our community?
I think it's going to be a hub. I think it's going to be an economic generator. I think it's going to be something that, you know, is going to be full all the time, particularly on the weekends. But, you know, every day people will be able to come in and work out. They can use the gym, they can use the courts, they can use the pickleball courts, those types of things. So I think it's really going to be a hub for the city, for the county, for the state, quite frankly, and it's going to be an economic engine.
Give me one thing that you learned that you didn't expect from your dealings with the Shawnee complex that you might be able to put to work here with this one.
You know, I think that making sure that we do enough work on the front end. You know, Shawnee, and I've candidly admitted this before.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know, but you also got to be willing to find out what you don't know, right?
Right.
So, Shawnee, I had my head down, charging forward, and honestly, I made some mistakes along the way. Some things that I probably should have done a little differently, not just with the design, but with community involvement. I think we fixed that this time. I mean, not everyone is in favor. I wouldn't expect it to be like that. Not everyone was in favor of Shawnee, but I think now we had the public meetings, we got a lot of public input with regard to what should be in the facility. We came out with a proposal, a video that people watch, and that's something I did not do at Shawnee. I was kind of focused on what my study said and, you know, how quickly can we get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, I had tournaments sold before we put a shovel in the ground.
That's true.
You know, we had USU Soccer that had committed $32 million in tournaments to Shawnee, and I had to get it done. And so, you know, people will tell you, I would go out there with a lawn chair and sit and watch the work, you know, as it would happen. So I'll probably be doing that here on, you know, on Clendenin Street. I'll probably put a chair
Keep
out
you
there
busy.
and watch.
Now,
But you got to make sure it's done right. You got to make sure that the planning is in place and get the right team together. We've got that.
$80 million investment. Anytime you're talking about that kind of money, there's always going to be some pushback. Be like, well, do we really need to spend that money on this? Could it be used better elsewhere? The counter to that is, look at the things that have been done recently around here, Clay Center, Civic Center. There are very few people, I'm sure there are some, but there are very few people now that look back on that and be like, well, that was an awful spend. I mean, most people are happy with what the Clay Center has become. Most people are happy with what the Civic Center has become. Is that something that you're hopeful for with this as well?
Yeah, I mean, some folks are resistant to change. I can tell you what's going to happen to the mall if we don't do this.
No.
You know, we've seen it over the last 10 years, what's going on. I can tell you what's going to happen to that space if we don't do this. You know, imagine if we've got 20 acres downtown vacant. Somebody's going to have to come in and demo it. That's going to cost $5, $10, $15 million
And then
to
you have a
demo
hole
the
in the
mall.
middle of the city.
Then you've got a hole, then you got to sell it, then we're looking at, you know, decades of development. This is a way to fix part of that problem. It's not going to fix it all, but it will fix part of that problem. And I think you're going to see us combining this asset with the assets that the city already has, particularly the Coliseum Convention Center. We can host the biggest tournaments in the Eastern United States, biggest basketball, biggest volleyball in the Eastern U.S. right here in Charleston, and that's going to benefit the entire state of West Virginia, because when you have, you know, the hotel capacity that we have, people have to stay even in Huntington and Flatwoods, and you know, when we have a big tournament at Shawnee, people have to stay 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
So you're going to see hotel development here, which we've already had lots of interest, people coming in. You're going to see hotels remodeled. It's going to be an economic engine. It really will be.
I want to bring up something here, because the mayor talked about how this is also going to be, it's not just to attract people from out of state, which obviously can help generate revenue, but it's also for the local community. You'll offer memberships, which almost puts you in direct competition with the Y. Has there been any talk with the Y about, I'm sure that they're kind of maybe not leery, but like, are you going to not only take away from what we do, but also to keep in mind that the Y sometimes offers deals and discounts to underprivileged families? Or is that something that you've been talking about as well, to make sure that you don't put the Y out of business, and that kind of
I think it would be a heavy lift to put the Y out of business, and certainly that's not our goal.
Just bringing that up.
Yeah, but no, I've heard that, and I've met with the Y, some of the members of the board and the executive director several times. I want to work together. Let's offer joint memberships. If you're a member at the Y, you can tack on a little bit extra, and you can become a member of Capital Sports Center. If you're a member here, you can tack on a little extra and become a member at the Y. There's a way for us to work together, because you know, a lot of folks don't want to work out in just one place. You know, I go to particularly one gym, but I work out at multiple gyms. And so that's what I think you will see, people maybe belonging to both. And it's not unusual for folks to have 2 or 3 different gym memberships. So I don't think it's going to hurt the Y at all, quite frankly. The Y's been around a long time, and they're going to be around a long time in the future. What's
your level of confidence that this will get done, maybe not tomorrow, but as quickly as humanly possible?
100%.
And you're ready for it?
I am 100% confident we're going to build it. I am pleased with the progress. It was a little slow at first, but we're moving at a rather fast pace now. You know, we've got
you flexed your attorney's muscles, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to do that, but I think we've got a good board in place. The mayor has more energy than anyone I've ever met. You know, I don't know how much coffee she drinks in a day, but she's like a hummingbird all the time, just buzzing around. And people feed off of that, and certainly I think it's a benefit to the city and the community, having her on this project, having the board members that we have on this project. You know, Commissioner Carper and Commissioner Wheeler are 100% behind this project, and have been a big help. And so we're looking forward to getting this done, breaking ground hopefully very soon, and getting it finished.
All right, Kanawha County Commissioner Ben Salango, thank you for joining us, sir, and we'll be right back to wrap up another Outside the Echo Chamber after this.
August 5th, 2013 was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. It turned into a nightmare. Harmony was too big for me to pass through my pelvis. They thought the best option was to put the vacuum on her.
She begged for a C-section. Over and over and over. They wanted to rush through it. Once Harmony came out, it probably wasn't 5 minutes. They rushed her to NIC unit, and then her head swelled the size of a watermelon. It pretty much crushed her whole skull. Ben Salango was recommended to us by a family friend that he had represented.
Having Ben Salango on our side changed everything for the better.
From day one, he did everything for us. He kept in touch with us pretty much on a daily basis to let us know what was going on, and even just to check on us.
It gave us closure as a family, a peace, a calming feeling over us that she can rest in peace finally.
Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Outside the Echo Chamber. We want to thank today's guests, Kanawha County Commissioner Ben Salango, Charleston Mayor Amy Goodwin, and also give a shout out to the Marriott, who allowed us to shoot on location out here on their 3rd floor pavilion right across the street from the Town Center Mall and that old Macy's building where that Capital Sports Center will soon be. But of course, we want to thank you as well for joining us on another episode to discuss issues that are important to you and your family. Until next time, I'm Rick Lord. Take care.